Let's talk about the new era of cutting boards. Cutting boards are a part of our business that we haven't really shown here on YouTube. And even though many do not consider cutting boards as woodworking, it is a big part of what we do. The most exciting thing about this piece is that it is going to be for my wife. And even though we make pieces like these and sell them on our website as part of special collections, we have never made one for ourselves. Let's show you how we use our CNC to make cutting boards into pieces of art. Now this is a very controversial topic because many do not consider a CNC to be woodworking. However, as you can see, this is not our mentality. So let's show you guys how we make our collector's pieces. Although milling is one of those parts of woodworking that actually takes a little longer and actually takes the majority of the time, it's something beautiful about seeing how a piece turns from like rough lumber into this milled like beautiful, like you can see the grain. It's just so satisfying that it just makes up for the work. So we have it fully milled down. We're gonna cut it down the middle so that we can get kind of like a book map style, glue it up, and then after we let it sit for 24 hours, then we can go ahead and keep working on it. Even though one may have a CNC, it does not take away from the knowledge or the work that you have to do to get to have a cutting board. A CNC is just a tool that allows you to get the job done, whatever the job may be. Sometimes the best spreader is what you already have. Mind you, this video or build is not to convince you on our point of view, but rather show you what we are able to achieve with the machinery that we have. So let me introduce you to our Shapeoko 5 Pro. This is the CNC that we have had for over a year and we absolutely love it. Not only is their software extremely easy to use, it has also given us the ability to learn how to CNC and how to make all these pieces, even though we don't have any architecture or design in our background. Now, in no way, shape, or form is this video sponsored by Carbide. We are just sharing our experience using the machine because one of the things that we loved the most was that when we first bought it, they had a whole university that really teaches you the in-depths of the machine. But Carbide, if you want to sponsor us, we're here. Now, one of the things that we use the CNC the most is for surfacing. Since we have a small joiner and a small planer, the CNC allows us to make bigger panels and bigger pieces that we can later surface without having to have like an industrial sized planer. And when the machine is not surfacing, we use it to make designs like these. So let's show you on the design that we will be working on today. Okay, so with the actual design done on the board, it is time for the most nerve-wracking part, which is the epoxy pour. This is that part of the video where we are always super nervous because even though we've done it a couple times, it's kind of like, you don't really know how it's gonna look till it comes out.
Yeah, and then the thing about epoxy is that epoxy, you have to make sure that you have a nice temperature as well as work under a little bit of time pressure because epoxy does seal very quickly. The one we use takes about 30 minutes or so, but that's kind of estimated depending the weather. Sometimes after 15 minutes, it's already getting hard. So there's always some pressure.
And then once we let this go ahead and cure, we can resurface the piece and then work on the actual cutout and the sanding. So are you excited?
I'm so excited.
Let's do it. Okay, so this is the piece and how it came out. The first thing that we want to do is try to get all these little fuzzies out. And for that, we would just recommend grabbing like any wire brush that you have. And then you just kind of gently run it through the actual little fuzzies that it has in there. All this is gonna do is kind of get rid of that extra that you do not want, all those little particles that you do not want for when you're gonna do the epoxy pour. We were getting out all the fuzzies like we were showing you, and this happened. So something that we like to do when we are designing these pieces is that we like to do the actual design within the piece, so that way we don't have to worry about taping off any section for the actual epoxy pour. By this little piece breaking off, we just lost that. So we are going to have to do some epoxy magic and pretty much put a piece of tape or put something on there that will prevent us from just having the epoxy flow out. It's okay. These things happen. So we were just gonna put like a piece of tape that against the piece that would help the actual epoxy not flow out of this pedal here. But our concern is that with the weight of the epoxy, the tape is just gonna kind of flap. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna put like a little piece of this shim here and kind of just CA glue it on this side and also put the tape for extra protection. That way you have something heavy holding it, but then you don't have to worry about this piece here absorbing all of the epoxy. So again, this should work in strategy, but we'll see.
So for this process, since epoxy is time sensitive, I like to mark what colors I want to do the shapes. So I do know that I want to work with brown and black. I think I'm going to want all the leaves to be black, black, black. And the flowers, I'm going to do the inserts black. And the petals are going to be brown. Or bro.
Gonna be the final pattern that we chose. We were a little nervous because we're gonna run like black, I think it is, through all of these leaves here. So we knew that we wanted this to be brown, this to be brown, this to be brown, but we weren't sure about this one since it's not really a flower. But I think we're still gonna go with that brown just because you're gonna have like this one that's gonna come across the entire piece be black.
For my brown, I love to mix copper and black together. I go a little heavy-handed on the pigment because I don't want the color to be see-through at all.
So the epoxy has cured. Now it's time to do the actual surfacing and the cutout.
Yeah, so let's show you how it looks. So This is it right here.
Yeah.
Oh. Right now it's just a big mess. So everything is cured on here, and a little thing that you can do to make sure that the epoxy is 100% cured after leaving it for 24 hours is also touching it.
Yeah.
It should feel like hard plastic. If it's a little tacky or if you feel like it's a little mushy, either it's not fully cured or maybe the measurements were wrong in the
Actual mix.
Yeah.
We would always recommend, depending on the epoxy that you're going to use, look at the specifications that they recommend, because we know that there are some epoxies that take a little bit longer than others.
Yeah.
The one that we have when we pour it where we live in Florida, in 24 hours, we are good to go.
Yeah, so right now it's actually 40 something degrees here in Florida, which is freezing for us Floridians. So also take into account the weather where you're pouring and have a controlled space where you could pour it without it being too hot or too cold.
Yeah, so.
So, okay, I don't want to talk anymore. Let's go, let's go.
We cut it?
Yeah.
We cut it? So this is the reality of surfacing something that has epoxy. Like, you don't only get the wood dust, you get the epoxy shavings.
Wait.
At this point of the actual build, there's two ways that we can go about this. One, we cut out the shape and then plane the other side on the planer, since this board is smaller than our thickness planer, or surface the other side and then do the cutout. What we have found that's best is to just go ahead and cut out the shape now, since everything is set, everything's been shimmed, and the board is perfect, and then we can use that one face that we surfaced to go ahead and do the other side. It's just one of those things that has saved us time in the past, so we thought we'd just share it with you. Are you excited as I am?
I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited. I have to clean today. Like, tomorrow or today, I have to clean because I'm not putting that in the kitchen until it's clean. The house has to be clean. You know, you can't put a board when the house is like.
And this is what the final piece looks like. We release 4 collections a year featuring pieces like these, with our next one set to go live on March 1st. If you've enjoyed this video or want to see sneak peeks along the way of our upcoming collections, please consider subscribing to our channel. If you've made it this far in the video, a special thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.